Okay, we are live.
Perfect. Welcome everybody to a very rainy reading here in Portland, Oregon. Thrilled that everybody is in town together. Yeah, so thanks so much for coming, everyone. Don't forget to make sure your mics are muted so there aren't any like interruptions during the reading. And tonight we're going to start with Bradshaw, and then Poupeh and Missaghi will follow, and then Ponteri will wrap us up for the evening. But first, let me introduce you, Bradshaw. Bradshaw conducts poetic investigations and observations through writing, letterpress, collage, photography, and sound recording. Her interests converge around fragmentation, the tension between immediacy and accessibility in the experience of poetic, narrative, and visual works, and the state of the word in contemporary visual culture. She's a graduate of Brown University's Literary Arts MFA program and an MA in Religion from the Divinity School at Yale University. Bradshaw heads the undergraduate creative writing and general fine arts programs at Pacific Northwest College of Art at Willamette University and teaches across BFA and MFA creative writing, intermedia, and MFA print media programs. Burning Deck's release of her first book, Apologies, in October of 2014, followed the 2005 chapbook, The Difficult Nature of Contemplation from Percival House. Audio versions of The Difficult Nature of Contemplation are available in issue 23 of a Burning Deck Press Spotlight, a text sound, and online audio publication. Bradshaw lives in Portland with her dog, Quentin, and our little family of artists. It's all yours, Bradshaw.
Thank you so much, Justin, and thank you, Jay, for inviting me into the program this term, and to Brandon and Allison and Sarah and Poupeh and Alejandro, and to all the students that I've been meeting and talking with. It's just been a really terrific experience. What I'd like to do, if you can all hear me well enough, is to share a little slideshow that will hopefully help kind of keep me on track and move me through the next 15 to 20 minutes or so without getting too distracted. And also allow me to kind of show a range of works that are all semi-interrelated, and at the middle of that to provide a sampling from the manuscript that has been kind of coming together over several years now, and Jay has most recently been helping me with that. So I have a coda that I've added after our most recent conversations about that a few months ago, and I wanted to try and read that here. I want to admit that when I get there, I keep having I keep getting teary towards the end of that piece, so I apologize in advance. That's not generally I tend to keep a bit of distance and want to be performative to a certain extent. But I also want to show a spread of works, and at the heart of that to show a little bit of manuscript. So here are a few lines, and this is really thinking about the brevity of the line, how the condensed language can work. At times I've forgotten how to speak. If violent words rebuff greater offenses, your false fakes makes me sigh. The fruit that rots hangs. Two Oregons, both with fire. This is you in your life slipping. This world is burning, and it won't matter about the next. No one is coming to save us. So I'd like to move into reading the first and last sections of this manuscript with this coda. The manuscript is a kind of hodged together out of a collection, annotations, works, notes that I had been taking from like maybe 2011 or 2012 through 2017 or 2018, in the first year and a half after our daughter was born. And there were a lot of themes that I began to see stretching across this set of years and a set of writings. So I began to pull them together into this manuscript. So Certitudes of Gazing. One, hesitant to establish residency in the most common of familial formations. My dearest, your little creature, no longer with us, lingers against the probability of my disclosures, and so impresses upon the afternoon which seems too cheery for this distress, and quiet, broken by the unison chanting of birds and a parade of girls stepping down the street, the practice session for the real thing, which will also pass and so soon as well be no longer. Dearest, I cried always a flooded dream, a dreamer boating off to incomprehensible ponds, a lark, a drowning to follow. So. Dearest moves me in the daytime when I work, and in the night when I sit, the sitting into a persuasion of thoughtfulness. Dearest, now I speak to you in tones, become the father and the daughter, and yours ever in the gash of stark words made more angular by anxious delivery. Fences, defenses, umber moods of solitude disrupted. Dearest, more and oddly more, how can it be that gorgeous plumes of early summer fauna sway in the rising heat winds, and such joy blooms perennially, despite the tinkering with so many lives, the jockeying of dull horses in capitals far away? How can it be that these things exist in the same world? Dear Father, what does it mean to be paternal? So much terror and so much awe invades my usual landscapes. Father, daughter, a father who is a daughter who is scarcely treading. Darling, curled dog she sighs, and I read on for solace. Section 5, my ruminations drift elaborately between. The problem with guns is that they go off and they feel so good and so hot. Recurrence of bland blank, the bang hardly noticeable. Against the skyline, a bride, bridging arches between fledgling rancor. The muted mirror, a resplendent lie, balancing upon a floor. There, a deep division, the question of plurals, extraordinary lives and ordinary lives. The squirrel jumps from the wire to tree, bounces and scampers. Amazing. Guns, usually a shotgun, the old salve, liberty or death. Dogged maneuvers, a stone across a circle, a sickle, louvers and blinded apparitions. Plucked from darkness, a room, a chair, a platonic ideal, shattered by the squeals of life intruding in infantile waves. ripples from the stone, a glass mastered between finger and fore, the exit. Fumes, glasses, perch, provision, thoughtless and tough and toothed, and a dog at the feet slumbers. Studio dreams, she waits for the entire day to pass into fever, then enters metronymic bluster, a void. And this is where the manuscript ended. And then I got a really wonderful reading from several wonderful readings, but in particular, Jay and I looked at it together. And so far, this is where I am thinking it might continue to go. This is raw, but I would like to see how it goes. Coda, September 2021. For Kate, as always. Dearest, I come back around, am a new man and still always a woman, cycles a new person living in the queerest of times. And with you, oh Lordy, with you, with the loaded preposition. Tonight, I think of Rosemary and Keith Waldrop and of our parents, my mom and dad and your mom and John. I think of driving along the highway, gunning the accelerator, the stillness of moving at 80 miles per hour, the body shifting from daughter to father. In the quickening stillness, I think of fathers, complicated fathers, and mothers, most blank mothers. And I think of their long endeavors, each uniquely mysterious and unknown to us, but we have our glints, sideways and backwards, photographs, words, we have our glints backwards at them. Gratefully, I have lived long enough to see the crack of light that the dead must see, and floating there, the body, the mind, the words, untethered. So I'd like to move on to a slightly different set of inquiries that I have been engaged in the last 2 years. This is 3 graphic digital works for mobile phone usually. Delight undertakes a pensive shift. These pieces were all dealing with grief and heavy subjects, and honestly, the words to this piece have been lost. This is the most direct. And this is, I feel a collective grief. And in a more, in a printed material version of these sort of explorations, these are some carbon experiments I've been working on. A father loves her daughter. Tears and pauses, or tears and pauses. Wherein we almost touch, but do not dare. And then I'd like to close my time with you this evening with a couple of incendiary meditations. This is a collaboration with Kate Copeland. So we watch it fall. And tend your own fires. Thank you all so much for giving me a moment to read with you. Yeah.
That was fabulous. Thank you so much. I have shivers head to toe. Next, we'll be hearing from Poupeh Missaghi, who has a PhD in English and Literary Arts from the University of Denver, a master's in creative writing from Johns Hopkins University, Baltimore, and a master's in translation studies and a BA in English and Persian translation from Azad University in Tehran. Her novel, Trans-Relating House One, was published by Coffee House Press in 2020, and a translation of Iranian author Nassim Marashi's I'll Be Strong for You came out with Astra Publishing House in 2021. Her short pieces have appeared in numerous journals. She's based in Brooklyn, New York, and teaches at Pratt Institute and City University of New York. She works in prose, innovative and hybrid prose, nonfiction and fiction, as well as translation. Poupeh Missaghi.
Thanks, Justin.
Sorry.
Thanks, Justin. And thank you so much, Kristin, for that beautiful reading. Okay, so I'm in the tradition of my readings for PNCA. I'm going to read from a work in progress. This is a collection of essays with the working title Flowers in Bloom, a bilingual dictionary of flowers. And I'm going to just read a few pages from one of the chapters, which focuses around the flower Nargis or Narcissus. So it's 7:17. Okay. Nargis is the scent of winter, is, they say, the flower of the month of Azar, which is the 9th month of the Persian solar calendar, the month of fire, not just astrologically, but also literally in word. It's 10th or 11th day, marking the beginning of December in the Gregorian calendar. Nargis does not have anything in common with its English relative, Narcissus. The English flower's name shares an etymology with the word narcissism, which comes from the Greek myth of the beautiful youth, quote, the beautiful youth who rejected the nymph Echo and fell in love with his own reflection in a pool, who pined away and was changed into the flower that bears his name. Does this mean that the flower in English is a narcissist? Can non-humans be narcissists? Yet the Persian flower, Nargis, has no awareness of the psychic struggle Freud has brought to our attention, what he describes as, quote, adoration one accords themselves in light of them being an object of sexual desire. As one, end of quote, as one loving what it itself is, was, or would like to be, or loving an other who was once part of itself. Love is that thing which Hannah Arendt also delves into in The Life of the Mind, in the section on Augustine, the first philosopher of the will, who is also known as the person originating the genre of the confession, even though today the term is mainly used for writing by female, or rather non-male writers, not for writings by men, even if they write autobiographically and confess to what they have done wrong in their lives. Augustine, according to Arendt, quote, diagnoses the ultimate unifying will that eventually decides a man's conduct as love, end of quote. She writes, quote, love is the weight of the soul, its law of gravitation, that which brings the soul's movement to its rest, end of quote. Further on, she notes how Augustine emphasizes that, quote, the love that stills the will's turmoil and restlessness is not a love of tangible things, but of the footprints sensible things have left on the inwardness of the mind. In the case of love, the lasting footprint that the mind has transformed into an intelligible thing would be neither the one who loves nor his beloved, but the third element, namely love itself, the love with which the lovers love each other. End of quote. In my notebook from the time I took a course on Arendt's book at Brooklyn Institute of Social Research, taught by Samantha Hill, the author of the new biography of Arendt called Critical Lives, I have jotted down, what you love is not the thing itself, but the impression it leaves on you. And we should not just be thinking about the other or about justice. It's necessary to love justice and the other. But how can this love with capital L and the word justice sit next to one another? And what is even the use of their sitting next to one another when the flower Nargis is the bundle of flowers, children of work, as we call them in Persian, sell at the intersections of Tehran streets, moving in between the cars that are idling behind the red light, with its timer counting the seconds down or staying frozen in its place on some random number, while the traffic officer guides the traffic, often making the knot even worse than what it needs to be. The flowers smell like heavens, make you fall in love. You want to have bundles and bundles of them, fill the house with them if you're obsessed the way I am, the Sagittarius born in the month of fire, which according to some has the narcissus as its flower of the month as well. And you buy them, and you do buy them as long as they last throughout the season, perhaps not too many, though that too sometimes, but often only 1 or 2 bundles at a time. But the scent of the heavens always come with the worries in the eyes of the kids who sell them. When the flowers arrive in town, it's either late Aban or Azar or Day, that is November, December, or January. And the weather is getting colder in Tehran, and the air is getting more polluted than what it is in the other months of the year because of the phenomenon called air inversion. And these kids are out there in the streets breathing this polluted air, and they should not be there, should not be working, should be kids doing what kids do, smelling those flowers, not selling them. What does love have to do with any of this when you fall in love with the flowers and through the flowers that mark the month of your birthday, fall in love with the kids selling you the flowers and the streets that become open air flower markets? In the end, your love for the other and for justice fails to have any power to save the lives of the hands that hand you your bundle of Nargis. And in the end, you leave. You have already left them behind. And with them, a huge part of yourself, justice never attained, not even looming in the horizon. And now the flower Nargis is forever tied to not any November, but to the November of 2019, when hundreds, according to some sources, around 1,500 of Iranians got killed brutally during protests against the sudden rise in fuel prices. Killed while the internet was shut down and the map of data and internet traffic in the country had gone completely black. And it was in another month of the flower, in January 2020, that the Iranian regime, more specifically the Iranian Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, shot and brought down shortly after takeoff by 2 missiles, a passenger flight, the flight PS-752, killing all 176 passengers and crew. 164 passengers had checked in with Iranian passports, 10 Afghan passports, 5 Canadian, 4 Swedish, and 2 Ukrainian passports. This was exactly on January 8, 2020, 5 days after the US assassinated the IRGC Major General Qasem Soleimani in Iraq, and some speculate connections between that assassination and the bringing down of the plane. It is also in yet another month where we have the flower Nargis, that is in Aban of 1400 or November 2021, that the first People's Court in the history of Iran is held in London, with witnesses providing evidence of the killing of the Aban of 2 years ago, now called Aban Khunin, which translates to the bloody November. But the two names, Aban and November, are not really the same, because what would you, my reader or listener in English, know of those days of silent horror, of those days of bloodbath? Now you tell me, where is the power of love in stopping all this? How could the scent of Nargis protect my people against the bullets being aimed at them? How could the beauty of the narcissist make the human who is so enamored with his own reflection that he cannot see any other, see the beauty in the other and the self that demands a rejection of violence? This narcissist that fails to make us care for the other enough for this care to be called love, to translate into action towards justice, is hard to find in New York. The flower is introduced in Merriam-Webster as a bulbous Eurasian plant of a genus that includes the daffodil, especially in gardening, one with flowers that have white or pale outer petals and a shallow orange or yellow cup in the center. Daffodils, yes, you can find, and they are plenty, but not the flowers that are more similar to Nargis. The Nargis that is sometimes called Nargis Shiraz, or as you would say it, Nargis from the city of Shiraz. A city that to us is known as the city of flowers and wine, even though nowadays you cannot buy or make wine in it in any legal manner, though many still do make it or buy it, make it at home or buy it in the black market. Shiraz is the city that, according to some, is the origin of the vines in Australia that give life to the Shiraz wine, or as some call it, the Syrah, which is also the city of Hafiz, the Iranian poet, who is widely translated and read in the English language, though not as much as Rumi, whom we don't even call Rumi, but we call him Maulana. And what you read of Hafiz or Rumi in English is so far away from what we read of them in Persian. The poems in translation supposedly the same, but not so much so. I'm just gonna stop here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Poupeh. That was wonderful. To bring us home, our very own Jay Ponteri is going to read for us this evening. Jay Ponteri directed the creative writing program at Marylhurst University from 2008 to 2018, and is now the program head of PNCA's low residency creative writing program. His book of creative nonfiction, Someone Told Me, has just been published by Widow and Orphan House. He's also the author of Darkmouth, Inside Me, and Wedlocked, which received an Oregon Book Award for creative nonfiction. Two of Ponteri's essays, Listen to This and On Navel Gazing, have earned notable mentions in Best American Essay anthologies. His work has also appeared in many literary journals: Gaze, Ghost Proposal, I Rhyme, Seattle Review, Forklift, Ohio, Knee Jerk, Cimarron Review, Tin House, Clackamas Literary Review. While teaching at Marylhurst, Ponteri was twice awarded the Excellence in Teaching and Service Award. In 2007, Ponteri founded Show Tell, the workshop for teen artists and writers, now part of summer programming at Portland's Independent Publishing Resource Center, on whose resource council he serves. He teaches memoir classes at Literary Arts and lives with his son, Oscar, and Oscar's pug, Mo. Jay, I pass the mic to you.
Hi there, everybody. Thank you. Great reading, Poupeh. Great reading, Bradshaw. So great to share this evening with all of you. Usually I intend to read work in progress. I'm going to switch that up. I just released a book and I just wanted to share that with you all, a little bit of it. This is called, in the book, it's not titled, but the title of it is On Richard Linklater's Boyhood. I wish I could see the look on my face when I lied to Dad to get out of going to church. Or when my best childhood friend and I sat on swings in the neighborhood park the night before we began college, at schools in different states. When my parents or siblings told me I cried too much. I wish I could see the look on my face when I stood at the viewing over Grandpa's prepared body, his skin yellow, plastic-like around eyelids sewn shut. Were his eyes in there? Had his eyes disappeared with his final breath? I wish I could see my boy face, which is perhaps why I look so intently at my son's face. I wish I could see the look on my face when I walked the path through the woods to the house, when my older brothers offered me their extra ticket to see Styx on their Mr. Roboto tour, when I stood in line to ride a roller coaster, even though I didn't want to ride a roller coaster, but was too afraid to admit that. When my body tried to receive something it couldn't or didn't want to. When my face tried to hide the face inside my face turning away from its own face or to face the face nowhere seen, as Stephanie says. When my face betrayed me, when my face fell, flogged, fled, even though I wanted it to face you. I wish I could see the look on my face when Dad told me he and Mom were divorcing. When I said, Mom's leaving you, and he said, I'm leaving her. The boyhood face is the look of a face in a glass cage, the look of a face trapped inside someone else's idea of your face, a face not facing things, an inner face plant. The word boy comes from French and Latin words for servant, leg iron, and one fettered. The boy face is the face of a folding chair collapsing, a sweatshirt sleeve pulled through a puddle, writing in the dark, burnt toast. Oh, I wish I could see the look of burnt toast on my boy face, the face of laughter and silliness and joy and unquestioning earnestness, the face of clowns and cannonballs in the deep end of the pool and brightly colored garments and game-winning shots, and everybody's at home when you arrive. I wish I could see the look on my face the moment after Dina's cousin Tracy and I French kissed for the first time, when Rick Sutcliffe hit a home run, when our family sat together and watched Soap or Young Frankenstein, or when just my brothers and I watched Saturday Night Live with its original cast. I wish I could see my laughing face expressing my immutable love for my older brothers, for Dad, for Mom. I wish I could see the look on my face when I sat in the back seat as we drove home after dropping my oldest brother off at college, when I sat in the back seat as we drove home after dropping my middle brother off at college, when my parents drove my face back to an empty house filled with ghost faces. When Dad told me to choke up on the club, to put on a shirt with a collar. When my dad held my hand, when he treated me and my friends to an ice cream soda at Bonnie Dunes, when he emptied the change from his pockets onto the dresser. I wish I could see these dad sounds shrinking or expanding the face inside my face, or raising the face inside my face, as when dad sat in front of the TV on the floor, leaning back against the couch with his box of shoe polishes and brushes, shining several pairs of shoes. Dad's precise hands, his nimble hands, his olive skin fingers, my olive skin fingers, our hands holding the brushes, polishing those shoes. I wish I could see me looking at dad in that moment with love in my little boy heart. And I wish I could see the look on my face as mom and dad kissed. The one instance of them kissing I recall, a brief, warm, welcome home peck at the airport gate. I want to see what it looked like to feel things, what it looked like to feel disorientation and confusion and love and joy, the wonder a boy feels, to feel sorrow and fear. To feel loneliness, to feel ashamed. I wish I could see the way my boy face showed the man I was becoming. I wish I could see at once what I am now and then. I wish I could see the look on my face when I scanned the list of names that didn't include me. I wish I could see the look on my face as I skipped and hopped down the driveway. Bouncy ball, bouncy ball, bouncy ball. The Pirates Cove on 4th Street, just over the tracks on South Merrifield Avenue, the old Hook's drugstore, things run down, houses with sagging decks, dry rot, doors uneven in their frames, sparse, unkempt yards, mobile home factories, Hummer factory on Jefferson, closed porches filled with broken toys and abandoned garments, ghost hotels on Lincoln Way. Oh, my brother word processor, the look on my face when Randall held, I'm gonna not read that. I wish I could see the look on my face when at a cake party, I witnessed my best childhood friend get beat up. I wish I could see the fear on my face, the pain on my face. I wish to hold my face, cradle my face. What fetters a boy to what? The boy fetters himself to expectations of others, to his perceptions of expectations of others, to overreaching toxic masculinity. The boy fetters himself to the faces dad shows him, to the faces culture asks him to mimic. The boy weaves his fetters by interlacing long threads of silence and shame, of repressions and repercussions, of impossible stardom and adoration, of the false American dream cloaking centuries of oppression through violence and policy and prejudice and hatred and dislocation, long threads of bully stitched with short threads of play and conch shells and riding the waves back onto shore and grasping fir tree boughs and dew-soaked and drawing endless labyrinthine city grids extending off the page into the other world, the magenta world beyond boy, beyond binary. A boy pushes away his mommy to reach for another who doesn't need him, who pushes him away to dance with others, which is to say, a man's feelings of inadequacy haunts the boy even before he becomes a man. And men don't stop being boys, never shake off the boys inside their fully matured male bodies. A man is a boy, is a man, is a boy, dancing alone in the dark, in daylight, running on deep wood trails amidst spruce, pine, birch, lavender fields, tiger lilies, fern fronds, white patches of blue sky poke. All these boys and men, hands. Sorry, I just lost my place. Sorry about that. Do they rise out of our silent, overstuffed cages, overstuffed cage hearts from the abandoned hospital ships and swimming pools, emptied behind boarded up houses, from dead shopping malls, from Farrell's ice cream parlor, Dog and Suds and Brown Sporting Goods, from the body immobilized, fastened in place, fixed in physical and psychic spaces, like the boy must remain seated, the boy who shall not cry, shall not lose control over his body, those JoJo potatoes shriveling beneath food warmers at the convenience store, bordering winter fields lined with frosted over stubs of stalk, the winter fields of our Indiana childhoods. Dear Brandon Shimoda, I love how you scream through a whisper. Dear dark fade. I'm sorry, I just messed it up. Dear Brandon Shimoda, I love how you scream through a whisper. Dear Brandon Shimoda, let's whisper into cold night. Let's waver into the winter fog, into the dark fade. Feel what you feel. Our parents tell us, but do not express what you feel. Keep all feelings inside where they shall grow an inside face you shall never show. Ronald Reagan says so. Your baseball coach says so. Boys don't cry. Boys make money. Boys win. Boys fix things. I'll stop there. Thanks, y'all. Thanks for listening. Thank you all. So I've suddenly just switched to director. Tomorrow, we have workshop at 11 a.m. Pairing forms are due. Do you all know that? Pairing forms are due. So I'm going to be checking my email and the Canvas sites when we get home. Thank you. Thanks for this evening, Kristin, Bradshaw, Poupeh, Missaghi, and Justin, thanks for leading us. Oh, that's yours. That's hilarious. I just started like